What if your words are weapons or seeds? Let me ask you something uncomfortable. What if every word you speak becomes someone's future? Not just opinions, not just comments, but actual seeds buried deep in the mind of another human being. And those seeds, they grow in silence, in shadows, long after you've forgotten what you said. Your influence does not disappear. It just takes root. So the question isn't, did they hear me? The question is, what did I plant? Because you don't need a title to lead. You don't need authority to shape someone's beliefs. You just need words and enough certainty to say them out loud. That's why today, we're not just talking about speech. We're talking about power, the kind that shapes identities, the kind that rewires lives, the kind that either builds or breaks. Napoleon Hill wasn't giving advice. He was warning us. Every time you open your mouth, you're planting something. The only question is, will it grow into success or failure? Let's begin. You don't need to scream to be powerful. You don't need to lead a crowd to influence a life. All you need is a sentence. One sentence spoken from certainty or carelessness, and you've just planted something in another mind. Most people don't know this, but we are all farmers, and our words are seeds. The only difference is that some of us plant intentionally, and others scatter chaos without knowing it. We live in a world obsessed with communication. Talk more, post more, go live, comment, share, shout. But what if, in the middle of all this noise, you're leaving behind legacies? What if your offhand remark about not being good enough just became someone's belief? What if your sarcasm became someone's script? What if your doubt became someone else's ceiling? You may forget what you said, but the mind that received it won't, because the subconscious is soil, and soil doesn't judge the seed, it just grows it. Let me ask you something. Can you remember a moment years ago when someone said something that changed you? It might have been a compliment, a criticism, a question, a joke, but it stuck and it shaped you. Now consider this. You've done the same to others, maybe once, maybe 100 times, because every time you speak, you're not just delivering sound, you're delivering code, instructions, beliefs, wounds, visions. And the person hearing it often doesn't have the defenses to block it, especially if they admire you, especially if they're young, especially if they're in pain. Your words enter them like a blueprint, and from that point forward, they begin to live it. That is the silent gravity of influence, and most people have no idea how much they carry. Every sentence has a shape, some cut, some building, some heal, some poison, and you don't get to choose how it's received. You only get to choose how you send it. Your tone becomes someone's inner voice. Your words become their frame for reality. And depending on how you speak, you either reinforce their self-worth or you fracture it. You either feed their courage or you fertilize their fear. You either speak to the man they're becoming or you sentence them to the man they've been. And all of it through words, not fists, not laws, not force, just words. Because the modern world rewards reaction, not reflection. We are trained to say something, to have a take, to prove we're listening, but we are rarely taught the consequence. We are rarely taught that language lives beyond the moment. Every joke has an echo. Every dismissal plants doubt. Every compliment or lack of one creates architecture in the soul. And so most people go through life unintentionally dangerous, not evil, just unaware. They speak from emotion, from insecurity, from projection. And in doing so, they scatter seeds of confusion in people who were already lost. You do not need a stage to shape a life. You don't even need to be right. All you need is to speak, and speak often enough, and speak from a place of confidence or despair. And those around you, your children, your friends, your colleagues, will begin to carry what you say, sometimes proudly, sometimes in shame, but always faithfully, because most people don't question the voices they love. They just believe them. So if you're careless, even once, you can create wounds that outlive your memory. But if you're conscious, You can create awakenings that outlive your name, even when you're not speaking directly, even when you're venting, even when you're joking. You are teaching, you are showing others how to view themselves, how to define failure, how to love, lead, learn, and lose. You are shaping people's mental frameworks by accident or design. So ask yourself, what do people become after listening to me? Do they rise or shrink? Do they walk away clearer or more confused? Because if the answer is unclear, then so is your impact. Your words are not just expressions. They are architecture. They are prophecy. They are legacy. And the question is not if you're planting seeds, but which ones. Napoleon Hill wasn't exaggerating when he said, "Your words plant the seed of either success or failure," because I've seen it. A single sentence has started empires, and a single insult has ended dreams. So speak with intent, speak with weight, speak like someone's future is listening, because it is. There comes a moment in every person's life when they hear their own voice, not just as sound, but as force. And in that moment, they no longer speak to impress. They no longer speak to perform. They speak to plant, because they finally realize, I am shaping reality, one sentence at a time. That realization changes everything. Let me tell you a story. A young boy once stood on a sidewalk, nervous, unsure, afraid to try out for the school play. He had never performed before, never spoken in front of a crowd, but he wanted to. His father stood next to him. Without looking down, he said, "You were never meant for the spotlight. You're not that kind of kid." Years passed. The boy never auditioned. He grew up believing he wasn't meant to be seen. Until one day, in his 30s, that sentence echoed back, "You're not that kind of kid." And in that moment, he didn't just remember the sentence. He remembered what it built, a life of smallness, a fear of visibility, an identity that wasn't his, but that grew inside him like a tree from a single seed. That moment broke him, but it also woke him, because that day he decided, I won't plant that seed in anyone else. And from that decision, his voice changed. There is a sacred line we all cross, when our words stop being casual and start becoming intentional. You begin to realize people are listening to you even when you're unsure. They repeat your language, they internalize your beliefs, and suddenly you see it. You're not just speaking, you're authoring identities. This awareness changes your language. You speak slower, you ask deeper questions, you praise with precision, you correct with care, because now you know every word I speak is either armor nor a wound. You stop reacting, you start responding, you stop labeling people by their flaws, you start seeing their seeds of potential. You realize a harsh word can burn a garden, but the right word at the right moment can revive one. You become someone others feel safe around, not because you flatter, but because you build. Your presence becomes healing, not through charisma, but through consciousness. You speak like a gardener, planting deliberately, pruning gently, protecting fiercely. There is no greater wake-up call than this, hearing someone repeat something you said as truth. Maybe it was a child, a partner, a student, a friend. They quote you, not like a casual comment, but like a law of life, and that's when you feel it. The weight of your voice has entered someone else's foundation. You are now part of their construction. That is when you stop chasing volume and you start chasing accuracy. You choose words that endure, because now they're not just messages, they're mirrors. People notice something different about you. You don't react with judgment. You ask questions. You don't speak to win. You speak to understand. You don't dismiss feelings. You name them. And then you offer language that gives people tools, not shame. Your words no longer trigger trauma. They heal it. You become known not as the loudest, but as the clearest. And clarity, spoken with love, becomes influence without force. Most people go through life haunted by the voices they grew up with. Critical, sarcastic, neglectful, dismissive. But what if you became the voice they never had? The voice that says, you're allowed to try. You are more than that mistake. You belong here. Your story matters. When your language begins to sound like liberation, you are no longer a speaker. You are a creator. Because now your words don't just describe the world, they design it. The moment you wake up to the power of your voice, you never go back to casual. You speak with care. You listen with intent. You leave every conversation with a trace of honor. Because you know, my words outlive me. And that means I am responsible for the worlds I help create. You will never know all the minds your words have entered, but you will know the kind of seeds you chose to carry. And from that day forward, you will speak like a builder. Most people believe power comes from action, but few understand this. Power begins in language, because every empire starts with a sentence. Every revolution begins with a phrase, and every identity, yours, mine, theirs, was once authored by someone's words. The question is, do you speak like you know this? Do you use your voice with direction? Do your words create clarity or confusion? Growth or guilt? Do they awaken or wound? Let's rebuild your voice into a tool of legacy. You don't earn power by talking more. You earn it by thinking longer. So the discipline begins with pause. Before you speak, pause for 3 seconds. Ask, will this plant truth or poison? Ask, does this reflect who I want to be quoted as? Because someone will quote you, and that quote may shape a life. Powerful people speak slowly, not because they lack clarity, but because they respect their ripple. Every conversation is an opportunity to lift someone's perception of self, of possibility, of purpose. So make this your new rule. If I speak, it must build. That doesn't mean you flatter. It means you refine. It means you correct with honor. You teach without shame. You challenge with respect. You leave people better, not bitter, stronger, not smaller. Even in disagreement, your words elevate because they're not about dominance. They're about design. Your words should echo, not as noise, but as anchors. So you begin to write phrases you want to live inside others. You haven't failed. You've just started. Mistakes are not identities. You can begin again, stronger. You are not your past. You are your pattern, and patterns can change. These become scripts. Scripts people run in their darkest moments. Scripts that hold them steady when nothing else does. Speak them often, sharpen them, then live them. Because the only words that change others are the ones you live yourself. We all carry phrases that were planted by others. You always mess things up. You're just not smart like the others. That's just how you are. If you don't actively remove them, you will repeat them. So cleanse your language. Eliminate sarcasm that stings. Refuse labels that limit. Challenge phrases you wouldn't want to be repeated in a child's mind. Speak like the world is listening, because it is. Even when it's silent, your words travel. Your words are not neutral. They set the tone of a room, a relationship, a business, a home. So monitor the atmosphere your language creates. Do people feel safe to grow near you? Do they speak boldly or shrink? Does your presence invite honesty or fear? If your language demands perfection, you will only hear performance. But if your language welcomes growth, you will witness transformation. Great leaders create space with words. Powerful communicators don't wait for moments. They create them. So install rituals where you intentionally speak life. Weekly one-on-ones where you ask, what's working in your life right now? Notes, voice messages, texts that say, I believe in you. End-of-day reflections where you write, what did I help build today with my words? These become your spiritual weightlifting, your daily cultivation. And just like the body strengthens with reps, so does your voice. Emotion passes, vision persists. If you only speak from how you feel, you will create instability. But if you speak from where you're going, you build stability, alignment, and direction. So before difficult conversations, ask, what outcome do I want to plant? What belief do I want them to walk away with? What energy must I hold to deliver this well? Then speak from that future. like it's already true, because that is how leaders talk, as if the vision has already arrived. In every moment of influence, you have a chance to say, this is who you are becoming, not what they did, not what they lack, but what's rising inside them. Say things like, this isn't like you, you're better than this. That took courage. You're getting stronger, you're leading now, even if it doesn't feel like it. Words like this create continuity of identity. They build the bridge between now and next. And when that bridge is clear, people move. Every sentence is a seed. Every conversation is a container. Every word is either a builder or a breaker. So speak like your voice outlives your body, because it does. Speak like your great-grandchildren might live in the world your words helped build, because they will. And above all, speak with the precision of a builder and the love of someone who knows a single sentence can save a life. In the quiet of your mind, after all the learning and remembering, a single truth now rises. My voice is not just what I say, it's who I choose to become. Because there are only two kinds of people in this world, those who speak carelessly and scatter confusion, and those who speak intentionally and plant kingdoms. Today you become the second. You no longer throw words like pebbles. You shape them like bricks. Because now you see every word is architecture. Every sentence is a structure. When you speak, people build thoughts, ideas, and identities from it. They form beliefs. They adopt energy. They carry impressions that last decades. And so your voice now reflects who you really are. A man of discipline, a woman of design, a mind that knows. Language is destiny. You remember the old voice, the one that snapped when insecure, the one that repeated what was done to you, the one that needed to be right more than it needed to be wise. That voice is gone now, because that version of you is buried under the weight of new awareness. You now speak only when it serves, when it uplifts, when it moves people forward, not because you fear mistakes, but because you know your power. There are people right now in your life who are desperate for permission to believe in themselves, permission to try again, permission to imagine something better. They don't need a miracle. They need your mouth. I believe in you. This does not define you. Keep going. You're closer than you think. These are not cliches. These are frameworks. Spoken by the right voice, at the right moment, they become the reason someone does not quit. And if you've ever been saved by a single sentence, then you know this power is real. Now you carry it. What is Scripture? It is truth passed down through language, truth that outlives the speaker. You are now writing your own. Every conversation, every reply, every correction and encouragement. You are leaving behind codes of renewal, of power, of possibility, not in books, but in people. People are living texts, and you are now an author of greatness. There's a tone people adopt when they feel seen. There's a shift in their posture when your language gives them dignity. This is the gift of the builder's voice. It heals without touching. You are no longer just someone with influence. You are a healer of identity. Through stories, through listening, through naming strengths they've forgotten, you speak like light, and it becomes clarity in dark places. Not because of titles, but because of impact. Leaders don't wait to speak until it's convenient. They speak because silence would cost someone too much. They say the thing that sets people free. They say the thing that invites truth. They say the thing that restores direction. You are now one of them. Your leadership is not positional, it's vocal. The ultimate test of a disciplined voice is silence. The choice not to speak when it would only add noise. The choice to withhold when words would harm. The builder's voice is powerful not because it's loud, but because it's rare. You speak with weight, so your silence speaks too. You have become the voice you once needed. You have become the sentence someone will carry. And long after you forget what you said, someone will still be building from your words. So choose wisely, speak slowly, plant greatness. Because in the end, Napoleon Hill was right. Your words and influence will plant the seed of either success or failure in the mind of another. And today, you chose success, not just for yourself, but for everyone who listens. If this message struck something in you, it wasn't by accident. It's because you've outgrown silence and you're ready to speak with weight. Subscribe to this channel, not for entertainment, but for transformation. Hit the bell, and let every future word sharpen your voice. Comment below, I choose to speak like a builder. Because this isn't just content, it's a covenant. And each time you engage, you're planting something inside yourself too. Your words shape more than moments. They shape legacies. Use them well. Use them now. And I'll see you in the next one, where the voice gets even louder and the mission gets even clearer. Until then, speak like someone is building from what you say, because they are.